Welcome to the Automotive podcast, where the world of luxury meets the open road. This show is all about bringing together extraordinary people from all walks of life, united by one thing, a passion for automobiles. This podcast is your front row seat to the stories that drive us all. I'm Scott Prescott, founder and owner of AutoVault Rodeo Drive here in beautiful downtown Beverly Hills. Hi, everybody. My name is Scott Prescott with AutoVault Storage here in Beverly Hills. We're doing a podcast today with a old customer, Chris Aquilla. He's a renowned hair cutter, barber, car collector, and we're going to have some questions back and forth and get to know him a little bit further. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming by.
Man, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor.
It's been a while. You had been doing business with us for a while. You've had some lowrider cars that you had. Do you still love those cars?
Yes, I still have those cars, and one of them I still use quite a bit, and it's got quite a bit of work lately, so it's been very nice. And when I kept it here, it was just amazing service, but, you know, I got a bigger place and room to store my stuff. So I haven't stored here, but I definitely maybe soon might be
Your collection's
having
growing.
some. Yeah.
That's how it always happens.
Yeah.
This is an addiction that runs deep.
Yeah. Very much.
So where did you grow up? What was your story in the beginning? How did you get involved in what you're doing today?
Okay, so I grew up in Sonoma County. I was born in Petaluma, California.
Wow.
And my dad was in the automotive industry, so he was a car painter when I was growing up, and that turned into him having body shops. So my first job was sweeping in a body shop or detailing the cars before they were returned to the customers. So being around cars has been in my life from the very beginning. And that's where I got, the bug, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And, I watched my dad build custom old cars or helped. So that gave me the insight and the passion and like the drive, or just to see the process and that it's possible. You know what I mean? Because some people who don't, are not into it, might not know where to start, or not, just like, you just see them and you're like, oh, wow. But it's like, I helped him build cars when I was young.
Wow.
And he had quite a cool collection. And, working in the body shop, I was from a young age just very much around it. So by doing that got me into it. So I would say around 18 years old, I bought my first old school, which was a big deal at the time. I got a 83 Buick Regal T-Type, and I put some 18-inch chrome IROCs on it, and I thought I was that was the coolest thing ever. And that was my first one, and it's never stopped ever since. So, yeah.
So you've kind of, the car thing, you never found out late in life. This was something that happened in the beginning with your father and all. You just kind of carried on through it.
Oh, yeah.
And
then as I grew up and I got older, or I was able to be more successful in my career and business, I was able to, buy my own toys. Because when you're young, I was trying to figure things out, and, I had like a rough 20s. So I was, battling some things and dealing with different things. So once I got my life together and got things going, then I was able to, afford and, be focused enough to pursue the cars I wanted. What I mean? And it's a blessing that I was able to do that and still do it. And even now in my free time, it's like on Instagram, all I'm doing is looking at cars or ATVs or
like
four-wheelers or paint jobs and just geeking out, and it just never gets old. You know what I mean?
Wow. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, now I noticed on your Instagram, it's no class in first class.
Yeah.
Now I noticed in the beginning, let me ask you about that. What does that mean?
No class in first class. So basically, I've seen both sides of the fence. So like when I grew up, you know, my family was just figuring it out. My parents were teenagers when they had me. And, you know, like we lived in somebody's garage at some point. And then my dad, through his automotive journey, was successful enough to have a software that did very well. And it was an automotive estimating software.
For body shops?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So he sold that and, you know, came into some money and had a whole different lifestyle, you know? And so it's like no class in first class to me kind of means like maybe I'm like not supposed to be where I'm at.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
it started out one way and it took a right turn and went somewhere else.
Exactly. And also kind of staying true to like, I don't know, what I am or what I liked, and just not really caring about like what the rules were or like you know what I mean? Like just kind of not supposed to be here. Like there was points in my life where it was like my dad rung the bell for the stock exchange one morning, and like, you know, it's like where I grew up and like the problems I had or the, you know, the drug addiction that I went through.
That's quite a reach.
So it was like, I felt like, you know, I was like, you know, walking the floor and people are looking at me with neck tattoos, and that's not normal on the stockroom floor. So I was like, felt like I was like, no class in first class. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's where it came from.
Great. And so which brings up a point. I'll go back there in a minute. I'm a true believer of what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
You'd have a little something to say about that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You got to pay it forward, and definitely what goes around comes around. I mean, good things happen to good people, you know? So it's like, and hard work pays off. So I definitely believe in karma, and I definitely believe in, you know, if you put in the work and dial in, you'll get to where you're going.
Yeah.
You know, it just takes time. Like my hair career was like that, or building a car is like that. You know what I mean? It's like
and sometimes the darkest days turn out to be the best days because you learn from them, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like my biggest losses or my biggest mistakes are my most valuable lessons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like
they stay with you.
Yeah. I learned the most from the worst. So
it's
like I wouldn't take back any mistake or rough time I went through, because that made me who I am today.
Yeah. And doesn't it make you appreciate things more now?
Oh, 100%.
Give you a whole perspective on it?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I'm on borrowed time. So it's like I definitely, you know, for many reasons could have and should have bit the dust, or almost did. I've had more chances than I should. So it's like I feel like I'm still here for a reason.
Yeah.
And I gotta do something.
And you got a mission now.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
Yeah. So
well, you were saying about that on your Instagram. I noticed further down in the pictures and all, you were actually doing some hair cutting and all for the homeless down in Skid Row.
Yeah.
You're doing that for a while.
Yeah.
You still dabble in that at all, or a little bit here and there?
I haven't done it lately, but I used to do it quite a bit, you know, like being of service and doing something for other people. You know, it's very important, and it was a very important part of my sobriety process and getting to where I needed to be. The only reason I really stopped doing it was I felt like after a while, some of the people down there weren't really appreciative of it. But that wasn't what it was about. It was about me going and doing it, and whether they received it or not.
Right.
But
and it's part of your journey too. It was kind of in that kind of way. You got something out of it by doing it for that. Kind of reflecting back where you used to be. That's kind of where you used to be.
Exactly. So can see, you know, what it could be, what it was, and then what I have, and you know, just being of service when you do that for anybody in any form. It's just very rewarding, and it's just keeps your head in the right place.
Yeah, very good. I noticed we were speaking earlier about trucks in your car, and now I know you from the Impalas and the lowriders. What else has been acquired since then?
I was into the muscle cars for a while and the trucks. I've gotten kind of rid of everything, and I did a T-Rex for a little while. It was kind of both in one.
Yeah.
But now I got that new F-250 Super Duty, the Harley Davidson edition by Tuscany Motors, and I'm in love with it.
Yeah.
It's just so
Great
cool, and I really love it. But since then, I haven't got any new old schools. More like we've been getting into like off-road, like Can-Am ATVs, and like having fun outside. You know, like my family has the ranch, so we take the toys out there and just have fun. And
lowrider doesn't work off-road very well.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a split, like the countryside of like the trucks, hunting, guns, like my family and like kind of what I grew up around. And then the low riding is like the other side, like what I got inspired by coming to LA and seeing all of it and like that culture. So I have like the duality of the both, you know, like those are my inspirations or the things that I go between.
You know, when I started this, I've been doing this now for 45 years. I had a process in my life where I was into boats, into offshore boats, for about 15 to 16 years, and that was all I was in. So I didn't have any more cars, nothing. The boats were my thing, and I thought about it. And people would always ask me, "What do you have for cars?" Well, I don't, but the boats were my life, and it was the common denominator was the motors. I think you know it was the same kind of motor, same type of thing, but it's just a different medium, and it was with the boats and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was a whole different. So you've kind of morphed into a different medium, same idea, but just a different medium.
Yeah, and I still definitely, you know, use the lowrider like the Impala that I used to store here. I mean, the last couple of weeks, it's had an insane amount of stuff go on. Like, it was in a Wiz Khalifa music video. I was interviewed at the Grove for a magazine, and a tire company came and, you know, gave me some cool tires to try and film some content with the car. I was invited to put it in front of the new Marathon Burger on the grand opening day right in the front. So they saved me a spot, which is Nipsey Hussle, the LA rapper that passed away. It's his burger spot. So that was an honor to be able to do that. So, you know,
it's getting some credit.
Yeah,
some street cred. The car.
Yeah, well, it's getting some work, and it's getting inquired about a lot, and it's kind of cool. So I don't, you know, it's kind of cool. That stuff could affect the resellability of the car, but it also just gives it like a cool story, and it's just cool to own something that people want to, you know, be in their stuff, or you know, like. It's already so cool just to have something when you go out and it just like makes people happy, or you make so many friends, or you're preserving a piece of history. But then on top of that, for people like, hey, can you do this? Can we have it for this? I'm like, it's just, it feels, it's a really good feeling. It's special.
Oh, sure. Yeah, great. What was, when you're growing up, you said, what was your first car again? What you said you had a
83 Buick Regal T-Type.
Okay. And that was the T-top one, the one that had the tops come off?
It was the T-tops, and it had the hood scoop, and it was root beer and tan, brown leather, electric seats, and all I did was I put the IROX on it, and some subs, and an Alpine deck, and that was it. I was ready to go, and that's when I got my first taste of having my own. Obviously, like being around my dad, I was, you know, tons of old schools. He had a very big collection, and still does. But over the years, you know, he's gone through all of from classic trucks to exotics to you know, different eras of cars, and that was my first taste. And
now that's the same car as the Grand National, right? The Buick Grand National, same body.
It's pretty much that. The same car. Yeah,
because we were talking about that car the other day. I mean, that's a pretty iconic car too in itself, the Grand National.
Yeah, and that's got quite a bit of hype lately too. You know, Kendrick.
Yeah, exactly.
Like his album cover is him sitting on that car, which kind of cool. You know, it's like I'm like, dang, that was much. You know,
And it's funny because we've had over the years celebrities here as far as stores, and some of them actually have one. You know, most of them were the 6-cylinder turbocharged. But there were a few big blocks. You know, a couple. And those are I think those are probably the best and the baddest ones.
Oh yeah, and the value of them is pretty wild right now. Like I watch, you know, like on Cali Broker or, you know, any of these internet marketplaces where they're selling, and the tickets on them are like up. It's very popular. It's very cool to see.
Supply and demand. Supply and demand.
Yeah.
Now, say if you had unlimited amount as far as cash money, what would be your car collection? Say 4 cars you would want in a car collection. No limits.
No limits. Okay, so I mean, the 59 Impala hardtop was my dream car, and I have that, so that would be one. That's already checked off. I would want maybe like a 1969 like Ford F-250, kind of like a Velocity Restoration does these really cool redos of them, and I would love to have one of those. I would love to have I don't. So you're limiting it to, you said 4 or 5?
Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Like the 37 Zephyr. I would love to have like a bomb, like a 48 Fleet Line.
Wow.
I would love to have a 1960, 61 Cadillac. I would love to have a 59 Barritz.
Wow.
I would love to have, I mean, in my family's collection, we have the 76 Eldorado that has the bull horns on the front.
Oh, yeah.
Like that whole look is
the
like
big one.
Something.
Was it convertible?
Yeah, so it's green on green convertible, and it's all OG, and then it has a little bit of wood grain, and then the bracket with the horns on the front.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, nothing new. I would just want classics.
Yeah. You know, because it's funny, you're from the West Coast. Now, I'm from the East Coast. I'm from Boston. I grew up in New England. You eat, sleep, and breathe muscle cars, American muscle cars. That's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't see European stuff on the street. You didn't see any of that. It was muscle cars. And in fact, we have some muscle cars here, too, that I really love. Some of my favorite cars when I was a kid. And you being from the West Coast, you're naming out all the East Coast types of cars.
Yeah.
You know, you're not calling off a Diablo or a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I'm not into the exotics at all. And I respect them, and I think they're beautiful. And like Pagani Motors had their annual retreat at my family's ranch this year, and they brought in the whole North American fleet and did a whole event there, unveiled a car. And I mean, my mom's driveway was full. I'll show you the videos. Like, I mean,
Paganis.
Paganis. All of them. And, you know, Mr. Pagani was there. He's friends with my sister, and it's pretty cool. But those kind of cars, like, I don't want one, but I love them, and I love that there's inspiration from classic airplanes to whatever it is, and I respect the art and what it is. But I just, exotic is not what I want. I just like classic American cars, you know?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I guess I'm the same way. In fact, I think we've only had 1 or 2 Paganis here ever. I mean, they're very, very rare cars. And when you look at the car, that kind of car, it's a work of art, really. It's how it's put together. It's a work of art. And I've always fantasized to have enough money to buy a Pagani and cut it right down the middle in half and hang it on the wall.
Oh my God, that would be so cool. Well, it's so, I was really like unaware of a lot about those cars until that day, but like, you know, there's like leather luggage straps on the exterior of the cars. Like
to get rid of the weight, to get rid of the hinges and the latches.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, it's almost like a watch wristband, like holding the thing down. And I'm like, wow, like the cars, like,
and there's also
have such like, so crazy.
There's actually crazy Pagani collectors who do not want to latch it down because it puts a notch in the leather, so they don't buckle them down all the time. They leave them loose. If they drive, they'll put them down. Yeah, but it's always released, so it doesn't put a notch in the leather. Yeah. Crazy cars.
Yeah, very cool. It was quite something to see them all coming down, because they one by one down the driveway, and you know, we're like in the middle of like Wyoming, like might as well have been in Yellowstone Park, and like just boom, boom, boom. Wow. I mean,
what a backdrop, huh? Yeah,
and it was, you know, the North American fleet. Like, I don't know how many of those there are in the world, but I think it's only like a couple hundred or something. Yeah. And 45% of them were at the house that day, which was pretty epic.
That is something. Wow, and I probably assume Pagani probably uses those pictures as promotional too.
Oh yeah,
because of the contrast of the backdrop in the car.
Yeah, and also that same week, or even the next day, I think after that happened, Ferrari had emailed my sister and inquired about it, and they ended up doing something in Wyoming, but not through us. But you know what I mean? It was kind of cool to see, culture has shifted, and Western and all American stuff has become much more popular.
Yeah.
Due to a certain TV show and a few things, and country music making a comeback. But I remember times when I couldn't really even get someone to come visit out there, and now it's like Ferrari and Pagani are having their annual retreats out there.
Yeah.
It's just cool to see the change and the contrast between the two is very heavy.
Wow. We had a discussion before about the classic cars and about how the younger generation that's coming up is losing interest in the older classic cars, whether it be American muscle or European. And some of the values of these very expensive classic cars are starting to level out. Simply because of supply and demand. And do you see anything of that? Maybe like the classic cars you like? I mean, are the newer, younger kids still interested in that kind of thing?
A little bit. I don't know too many younger kids that are into it that much, unless they're like come from a family that's like been doing it for a while. But yeah, I don't see that much. And I also, like the price leveling out. We had that crazy bubble during COVID where all these cars went from like, I don't know, 50 grand to all of a sudden there was 59 Impalas going for $300,000, $350,000 for a convertible. And then it kind of like simmered down and leveled out. And I feel like I'm curious to see what happens. If they go back down, they stay the same, it goes back up. But it's
wow.
I mean, you witnessed some of those price hikes.
Right, I know. We watch it, all the big auction houses and all, and how things fluctuate and how they've been fluctuating like that, and it can see the supply and demand issues start to change, and it does affect the pricing, for the cars. So
have you noticed, what did that do? Because I'm not too in tune with the exotics, and I know you guys have a lot here. What did the exotic car market do during that phase?
Well, the same thing. What happened was when COVID came, nobody was importing or exporting. There wasn't any coming in the country. So what was here. And if somebody wanted it, prices went up on them because there was a limited supply of them. There were some cars, I think like the G-Wagon and some other cars, where there was a big premium, $150,000 premium, $100,000 premium on them if you wanted one, because there were only so many left. But the minute the COVID thing was over, and ships started going back and forth, everybody lost big money on the cars. The ones that went up, and now they plummeted back down to reality, like you said. And they lost money on them.
I actually seen that with one of my friends. He got a Ferrari. I'm not sure which one it was, like a SF90 or but went for a premium, and he got it thinking he was going to get it and flip it, and then I think it like depreciated in half. And he got.
I mean, this is recent, right?
We've
got some here too. Yes, they are plummeting in value.
It's unfortunate.
I know, it's crazy. It's just been crazy. Now, about your hair cutting, what do you have, a barber license? Is that what you?
Yeah. So I learned.
What about that?
So I learned how to cut hair in a halfway house, and it was not even something I ever planned on doing or wanted to do, but I didn't have any money at the time, and there was 19 to 29 guys living in the house, and I had figured out how to like kind of edge myself up with some clippers. So it started with the guy in the bed next to me, like going like, "Hey, can you get me?" Next thing you know, I was trading it for a pack of Newports, a box of Lucky Charms, $10. Then I was running a business pretty much in there that to like, because you got to take the bus, get to the meetings, eat your food. And I didn't have anything. And so that was how I adapted. But I never thought that was going to be a job. And then at 3 months of being in the house, because it was an 18-month program, and at 3 months of being in the house, you either have to get a job or go to school. And I didn't really want to get a job because I didn't know what to do. Plus, they kind of took your money and made you like pay restitution or like you didn't get the money. So I was like,
save it.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to do that.
Wow.
And I didn't want to do something I couldn't do. So then they're like, well, why don't you go to hair school? And I was like, I don't really know. And then I walked out of that office meeting into the living room, and the movie Barbershop was on. And it was the scene where the white guy finally got his chance to cut hair. And I was like,
wow, that's
wait,
crazy.
So maybe I should go back in the office.
Wow.
And then I ended up going to hair school while I was in the program, which being in that program gave me, you know, enough structure and discipline in my life that I would like showed up and finished it. And I got my barber license and, you know, started doing hair ever since. And, you know, the crazy thing is, you know, I ended up cutting that guy who was the actor from that scene.
No.
Eventually, yeah.
Oh, it came around. What goes around comes around.
Yeah, exactly.
God damn.
And, you know, I was fortunate enough to learn some skill. Like barbering hadn't really made a comeback like it did when I first started. So I went to an ethnic neighborhood and learned like the fading, the lining up that wasn't really available, or because men were still going to salon. Like it was like the era where men were going to salons and getting their hair cut more than they do now. Now you see barbershops all over the place because I've been doing hair for, you know, 17, 18 years.
Wow.
So barbering's made a big comeback in that time, but I went and learned the skill in the areas where they were still doing it. And then I came back up to West Hollywood and learned how to do proper hair, like women's hair scissors. And then I mixed the two together and it was a bit ahead of its time. Wow. So it was really easy for me to gain a good clientele because I could do what a lot of people couldn't. Like,
wow.
And
so you kind of created a hybrid type of thing.
Yeah. And now that's very normal, and barbering's made a comeback, and with YouTube videos, people can learn all of this stuff very fast.
Yeah.
But back then, that wasn't available, and it just kind of happened that way. And then by cutting hair in Hollywood and West Hollywood, it's like I started cutting like what's that actor's name? Glenn. He's just in that movie Twister. He's in all the big movies now. But I remember cutting him like when he first got to LA and was like, it's my first week. I'm here to act, you know, and I cut him. And the next thing you know, it's like you watch him become this person.
Evolve, an actor.
And then I was able to cut very cool people like from Zac Efron to Doja Cat to David Letterman. Like I've had like a really cool spread of clients and people that became friends over the years. And it's really nuts because it was like, if you think about what it all came from, it was like me just trying to like get by and survive in that halfway house. And I never thought it would be a career like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, speaking of David, would you say
David Letterman?
He hasn't had a haircut in a long time, has he?
Well, he doesn't. Yeah. So he lives in New York.
Yeah.
So
retired now.
Cut him when
he looks like Jesus walking around.
Yeah. And it's funny because he doesn't. When I cut him, he doesn't really want me to do much to his beard.
Wow,
he's like, I like to do it myself. But you know, he came out here. I think last time I cut him, it was for Jimmy Kimmel. And he was promoting like that Netflix. I don't know if you watched any of those Netflix new interviews he did. He's like
I've heard about him. Haven't seen him. Yeah.
Really good. He was the nicest guy too. Exactly who he was is exactly how he treated me and was cool. And you can't say that about all famous people. Usually or celebrity clients.
The two different kinds of people.
And it's like, you know, he's so cool. Like knowing that my family had that ranch or has that ranch in Wyoming, and he hangs out there, and he has a place, I believe, in North Montana. You know, he came, and the mirror in my shop has a ton of stickers on it. And he brought a Teton sticker and, you know, put it on the mirror in my shop. Wow. And it's like, just like a cool, very thoughtful, respectful guy. Like I couldn't have, you know, sometimes they say you don't want to meet your heroes. And I've definitely been in scenarios or had people like that, but he was the exact opposite.
Wow.
And that was
Yeah.
he's probably the coolest guy I've
Yeah,
ever cut. Yeah.
Now the question I wanted to ask was, how would you combine your hair to the car thing? Is there something in there? Is there design features that are common? Is it just one separate from the other, or can you intertwine into both?
Well, I mean, I think it's about being detail oriented
Yeah,
and like being very, locked in on something and disciplined, where it's like when I was cutting hair, at my peak or at the most, I was dialed in and that was all I was doing and every detail mattered. And that's the difference between good and great.
Yeah.
And that's when you're doing a car, it's the same way.
Yeah.
It's like there can be a car that's a 1961 Cadillac or whatever it is, and that's that car. But then if somebody took it and went down every detail and, tweaked and made it everything, then it's like, wow, and the difference between good and great. So that, and then the mix between hair.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of like, I don't know, guy stuff, like you're hanging out in the shop, talking about cars, watching car videos. Like it's like a lot of the talk in the shop, it's like.
Now, you know what came to my mind as I'm asking you the question. Now I'm starting to answer my own question. Well, my version of it is the cars, the kind of automobiles that you're involved with and the kind of automobiles that get you interested have a lot of soul, have a lot of detail, have a lot to them, and about who they are and what they are and the history about them. And a very personal thing of those cars or acquiring those cars. Hair is a very personal thing, to people. It bases your image, it bases your self-worth, all of that kind of stuff. And that, I think, kind of, I'm just saying, that kind of washes into that same idea of the cars with personality. You just don't want a Volkswagen Rabbit or something like that. These cars have depth and they have personality and soul.
Yeah, and there's a lot of power in both. Like if you have a good haircut, you look good, you feel good, you feel good, you do good. Yep. And if you're in a car, it's the same way. If
you just built your own car, you're
so
proud.
It's like, they both can very much affect how you feel.
Exactly.
Whether it's good or bad, And
I never really, for me, the value of a haircut, I could take it or leave it, but the value of haircut for women and for the Hollywood and all, that's a big deal and it's big business. It's a big business to do that kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of importance in it.
Yeah. I mean, I know for me, it's like if my hair is done the way I like it versus not, like I'm, different level of confidence and especially the beard. If your beard's done right, that's like makeup for men. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's like a lot of power in both of them.
Yeah.
In the way we feel.
What do you think about luxury car designs now? More luxury, whether it be American, but American really doesn't. American mostly now is trucks, right? I mean, as far as design and cars, as far as cars go. But where do you think the possibility is where design may be going? And I'm going to say this first. Right now, I feel, in my experiences, we've reached the limit of horsepower. We've come to 1,000 horsepower. There was nothing that you and I can physically do anymore that's going to press us past that. We've built cars now that we can go into 6 G's worth of handling. There's nothing better we can do anymore now.
Yeah.
And what I see is happening is the automobile business is starting to go into the idea of the experience that you're going to have with their car. You buy their car because of the experience you'll have with that car. Because all these other things you and I grew up wanting. You want more horsepower. You want faster. You want bigger. You want better. You want more luxury. That's all here.
Yeah.
You can go and buy it, and it's here.
Yeah.
And what do you think about that? I mean, do you think that's kind of going as far as design goes, or where do you think the design is going?
I mean, I hope that it's going back to what it is from the eras of like late 50s, 60s, 70s, where it's like, for example, I'll reference the 59 Impala, the wings and the way that car is and the lines and like, they just don't, in my eyes, they don't make things like that anymore. So if they would go back to doing more detail and like stuff like that, I would really love to see that. Yeah. Are they going to do that? I don't know. Yeah. But to the horsepower thing, like, they've pushed the limit and like when I got rid of my, it was a Charger, Hellcat, Red Eye, Jailbreak.
Wow.
It was too fast. Like,
Yeah.
you shouldn't just, like, in my eyes, like, almost need to, like, somebody should take a psych evaluation before getting that car, because,
it's a weapon.
like,
It's a weapon.
yeah, it's like, and if you're just selling that to anybody, like, it's like almost reckless.
Yeah.
And like, as much as I do love all of that, it's like, I even thought, like, man, this is too much for me. And it's like, somebody bought this for their kid, like, that's dangerous.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
the limits of horsepower and all that, yeah, they've definitely maxed out.
Yeah.
And I think experience, yeah, I hope that the experience part gets better. And I can relate to that, because my new truck has so many cool features that the experience has, like, I'm like, wow, this is so cool, you know, or it has so many things that help and assist and do things and, like, make it easier to drive and function.
Yeah.
And the design part, yeah, I don't know what it's going to do, but I hope that it goes back to, you know, more thought, more lines, more, you know, not just this, like, I don't know, simple shapes. Like, it's like, to me, it's like, what has happened?
Right.
You know what I mean?
You know, in defense of that, if you look at it, and I was going to make going back a throwback, a design, and my example was going to be the Challenger.
Yeah.
You know, it was the 70s. We actually have a 70s Challenger down here, you know, an RS, an RT. And they've gone back to that look. You know, a lot of the Mustang has gone back to that look. You know, these cars are going retro back to what more modern style, but that look.
Yeah.
The other thing too is the cars. They eliminated the manual transmissions in a lot of the sports cars, but they're slowly coming back. A manual transmission is coming back, and so there might be something going on with that. You know, but I think any kind of change like that to bring out a 2026 car with fins on it. I don't know how that's going to be, you know.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
gonna have to work into it.
Exactly. It would be a progression, but yeah, exactly. It would be weird if it just all of a sudden happened like that. But, like, to bringing back the retro stuff, like, I don't know if they're actually going to do it, but, you know, like the Trans Am, they've been kind of showing and toying around with that. And there's like a new Bandit edition, but like the modern, but bringing the old school influence back. I think that's the move. And I would love to see, I would love to see that. Like, because some of those classic designs are just so good. Right.
Now, do you think that in more about you told me to speak about your journey? Do you think these cars that I asked you about, do you think they kind of represent your personality, represent the life that you've been through, that kind of thing, a little off the beaten path type of thing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, everything I do, I kind of try to, you know, have some sort of self-expression or reason behind it or whatever. And that's kind of like I said earlier, like the truck, like, you know, and I also have that old 58 Ford F-100, which kind of is like, you know, to my life growing up in Northern California, or, you know, the Western influence from ranch and my family living in Texas, which represents that part. And then the lowrider is like, represents, you know, LA and like the stuff I was inspired by here, and like Chicano culture, which, you know, has influenced, like, you know, I have the tattoos like from that. So I think they definitely.
Yeah, that's an extension of who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of. Your version of who you think you are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Great. Do you travel? You do any traveling, like worldwide stuff? You go around different countries and that kind of thing?
Not so much. I traveled the world quite a bit when I was young. So lately, not so much. We just did a trip to Scottsdale, and we took some ATVs, and we did a little hunting, did some ATVing, and then we went to a horse show. My girl's, she rides Western, so
wow.
You know, we went to a show and, you know, got to look at some stuff out there, and maybe a new trainer, because, you know, she's been professionally modeling just about as long as I've been doing hair, and is kind of looking for her next chapter, or, you know, her next journey.
She's looking for a 59 Impala.
Yeah. Well, that was how it was, is like when she wanted to get a horse, I was like, it's like, that's like the old, like, you're old school.
Her extension. Yeah.
That's
now, do you have horses in Wyoming?
Yeah, so my family is part of a horse rescue, Jackson Hole Horse Rescue.
Wow.
And there's usually about 20 horses, and my sister is on the board, and it takes in horses that people can't afford anymore or don't have a home or whatever, and they just rehabilitate the horses and then do trail rides, and they have to move them during season because obviously part of Jackson Hole, it gets too cold. But they move them to another part of Wyoming for part of the season and bring them back. But, it's taking something that's old and, they kind of refurbish them and get them back to health and then get them working again and do trail rides and people can come and enjoy Wyoming on the horses.
Because I grew up too, but I grew up back east. We had ponies and goats and all that kind of thing. And the commitment to a horse, especially in a suburban area like this, a commitment to a horse is a lot of money and time. And probably in some cases, people don't understand that. And they take on a horse, and all of a sudden, I can't do this, and then that's where you people step in probably.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. People or they just, it's like could lose the land or they get too old to take care. Yeah, whatever it is, but it's, when you get something like that, you're taking on a commitment of a living thing for 20 to 30 years.
And it's not a little dog. I mean, there's a commitment there. The whole series of things you got to do with them.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just take it lightly.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, I kind of wanted to jump to one. All I'm going to say is one word or two words: electric cars. What do you think about that?
Electric cars. I'm not a fan of them. Obviously, I see it as part of the future, and I know people love them. And my father was
involved in that.
Yeah. But me personally, I don't really want one, and I'm not sure if it's gonna I question and wonder is that really gonna happen and everything's gonna be all electric or is it not? I mean, what do you think? Do you think that how far do you think that's gonna go?
I think first off, the thing is what you're just saying. We've been talking this whole time about soul, about cars with character and all that. And electric cars don't have that.
Yeah.
They don't. You get in the car, and I refer to it as like driving a refrigerator. It's a great car for commuting, back and forth to work kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it has nothing on a '59 Impala or a '62 Chevy or whatever.
Yeah.
It has nothing on that, and it's not going to compete with that because it's not built to compete with that.
Yeah.
But I don't think, based on what the reaction is in the United States and in the world of building the infrastructure to get ready for 60% electric cars. We're not doing anything to get ready for it.
Yeah.
And in order to get ready for it, there has to be a runway of things they have to do for plug-ins and all that.
Yeah.
And we're not doing it.
Yeah.
And what we see around here is hybrid cars. Some of them, like the SF90, are taking a dump in value.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that's going to go. Maybe it makes a hiccup, whatever. But the ultimate, the thing about, for me personally, is the batteries. Okay.
Yeah.
Batteries require lithium and cobalt. Lithium and cobalt are deadly. They're deadly chemicals that have to be mined out of the ground. And when you have a population of 60% electric cars running around this earth, we're going to have a battery problem. That battery's dying, and then we're going to have a problem of getting intoxicated and being infiltrated with lithium and cobalt. It's going to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's ironic is the lithium and cobalt is more deadly than the carbon monoxide they're trying to eliminate with gasoline motors.
Yeah.
If it gets to that level.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just my opinion. And I don't know where it's going to go. I think there might be a road for hybrids. I think that might be the road. But the full electric thing, I don't think that's going to last the way we think it is.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah, like when they all stop in Cali, they're like, okay, like for the T-Rex, like this is the last of this, and then it's going down to V6. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, maybe 5 or 10 years.
It's going to rebirth.
Yeah.
It will. It's going to have to. Yeah. I mean, what they're doing now is a lot of the cars is they're sleeving down to a 6-cylinder with twin turbos or something like that. Mm-hmm. But that's not going to last either.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just a fan of the all-American muscle and the V8. Yep. Everything we have is either a V8 or a diesel, and that's what I like, and that's what I'm always going to like. Yep. And I respect the engineering and the thought and the stuff with the electric cars, but like the one thing that I'll never get or I would be able to have time is like people are like, oh, I just got to pull over at this charging station for an hour or like what. I'm like, I don't have that time.
No.
I'm not interested in doing that.
I want to get to where I'm going.
Yeah. I don't got the time for that.
Yeah. Well, I got one other kind of wrap-up thing I wanted to ask you. Based on everything we said, because you've showed us a lot of depth here and a lot of things you've been going through in your life. What's like, say, a couple things that you would tell somebody, say some kid, say, your daughter or somebody coming up, you would give the advice for? Good, bad, and different, something you shouldn't have done, something you did do, ideas, outlooks?
On
just life.
Life?
Yeah, having a good life.
Oh, man. I would say, find it is what you want to do or what you like and stick with it, because it takes a long time to reap the benefits of something. What is 10 years to be an overnight success or whatever. And with culture now today and everything so instant with social media, I think people's attention spans or willingness to be focused on something for a long time is low. And I would just say, pick something and just keep making the next right move and be patient, because,
doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, it does not happen overnight. And it's like for hair, like if I look back at it, like, it took years and years to get to where, like the successful points were, you know what I mean? And like, you got to put in the work, and I think maybe some of the younger people, it's like trying to find quicker, more efficient, shorter ways or shortcuts or hacks or like things, and just, commit, put your head down and stay focused, and, good things will come. But you gotta lock in and have structure and be disciplined.
And I think what you said too, making the right choices.
Yeah.
People, I think when it comes down to it, a lot of people know the difference between right and wrong, but a lot of people will want to go the right way for whatever reason, but making that clear, right choice every time, that you think you need to make.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is, easier said than done, but you gotta, do the right thing. Like I said earlier, good things happen to good people, and you gotta just, be a good person and put in the work. That's really it, and just make the next right move and treat people how you want to be treated, and pay it forward. And be of service. Yep.
Now, and I have to say, in our discussion here, I have been blown away on the whole haircutting thing. I never knew the connection, and probably a lot of people don't, but how that happened and why that happened, and in your halfway house type of thing, and how you evolved and came out of that based on that. That was your vehicle out of there. That's crazy.
It was 100%, and it's so powerful too, because I'm sure you can relate to it with the relationships you've built here. It's like cutting hair wasn't just cutting hair. I was developing relationships with people that
was just the vehicle.
Yeah, and allowed me to have a network of people from all walks of life, so that anything could be possible. Right. You know what I mean? Like, and I've been able to use that to help so many people connect dots and get their stuff together, or like, it's just
haircuts from Marlboros. That should be a T-shirt.
Yeah. Newports.
I'm sorry. There you go. Well, this has been amazing. I want to thank you so much for coming in and give us a little insight.
Yeah.
And we've had a great time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for riding with us today. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe and share. See you here next time.